Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, taking a look at the feature race at Santa Anita on Saturday. Race number 11 is at 1 1/8 miles on the turf, and it's the Unusual Heat Turf Classic Stakes. It's a real nice card featuring several stakes at Santa Anita on Saturday, so get involved with a DRF Bets account. Sign up at bets.drf.com, deposit $50, and bet with $200. Here's the field for the Unusual Heat Turf Classic, again carded as race number 11. Your morning line favorite is one of the more likable horses in all of Southern California, and that's the venerable 8-year-old veteran Ashley Loves Sugar, who has won a third of his 30 lifetime starts, has banked over $1.3 million in his career, and while he hasn't run the fast races that sort of broke him out from the pack in 2016, 2015, 2017. Matt, I still think he can run a little bit. I don't think that trip worked out for him last time out in the Hollywood Turf Cup.
No, I agree with that. The race really seemed to heat up going into the far turn for the second time, and I kind of feel like that was the beginning of the end for a horse like Ashley Loves Sugar and anybody else that was relatively close to the pace. And I think the days of him winning graded stakes races is more likely than not in the rearview mirror, but that doesn't mean that he is incapable of hitting the board in graded stakes races as well as winning these Calbred races. That tactical speed that he brings to the game is always going to be dangerous. This distance is not an issue for him at 1 1/8 miles. He's won twice from 4 lifetime starts, a couple other times in the exacta. I just feel like you say, a combination of that Hollywood Turf Cup, the way that the race was run probably didn't help him, and I think getting back to Calbred Company, I think that could make him a major player.
He won this race in 2017, and again, he always shows up with a nice, solid effort. Let's talk a little bit about Camino del Paraiso. This is the number 7, who's only 1 for 16 lifetime on turf. He seems to handle a synthetic course slightly better, and I thought he ran really well last time out in the Grade 3 Berkeley Handicap. Tough outside post position, and I had this horse 4 wide on the backstretch, 4 wide entering the turn. He lost a lot of ground. He still made the lead. He fought on gamely to the end. I wonder if 1 1/8 miles is really what he wants. He got beaten this race after making the lead in the stretch last year, and I think he's slightly better on the synth.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I go back. The only thing I have written in for his Turf Classic last year was swap leads down the lane, and you see that he actually was in front and got run down by Rye. To me, I feel like he's better at 1 1/16 miles, even a flat mile. And like you said, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with the fact that he's 3 of 8 lifetime on synth, and he's 1 for 16 on the turf. I think he might be a little bit better going shorter and a little bit better on a different surface.
Let's talk about the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this race. The number 10, King Abner, still a turf maiden, but he's only raced on the surface twice, and he acquitted himself quite nicely in his most recent start on New Year's Eve. Now, I thought he got a really good trip, tracking the pace 3 wide, attacking on the far turn, making the front, and being run down by Brando the bartender. But it was a nice effort, and if he gets this lead and is able to back it down, maybe all of a sudden that 1 1/8 miles is a bridge that he can cross.
I was going to say, I mean, I don't think it's totally out of the question that he could potentially get the distance. I think really it boils down to how slow can he go out there and still be able to dictate terms. If you throw down a 49 half mile, which I can't imagine, because a horse like Ashley Loves Sugar, he has the professionalism to say, you know what, if all of a sudden it's too slow, I'm going to go on with it. I'm going to push the pace and make you make a call. I think King Abner is nice. I do wonder if this is still a little bit too tough.
He will is a restricted stakes winner. He's done good work in graded stakes races, but he has been one of the more frustrating horses for both of us over the years. He's 7 years old now. Jerry Hollendorfer's like, I gotta put the blinkers on now. Blinkers have been good for him in his career. He won 2 of 5 starts early in his career with blinkers on. He's run well with blinkers off, but if you're a lead change fan, and I know you are, you're not a he will fan.
No, I mean, he's a dope. He just goes out there and does it over and over and over again, no matter how many times. And it is the most frustrating thing to see, because the talent is there. The talent's always been there. He just can't put his mind right. He can't get it together. I've maintained recently, I do think he's better going shorter. I'd like to see him at 6.5 again. I do think the Calbred Company helps, but Look, maybe it was the pace situation last time, but he was acting like a jerk again down the lane, and I think that hurt him. I don't know what you're going to get from this horse. It'll be our luck that he wins this race, and neither of us have him.
If the pace is fast, I think there's a really good chance that the number 3 Rye can successfully defend his Turf Classic championship. I liked his race in the San Juan Capistrano 3 starts back, where he finished evenly down towards the inside behind the big favorite Nessie. Something must have happened to him in the Crystal Water Stakes because it preceded a gigantic layoff. And I think trainer Maury, who is so sharp, just ran him in that 6 furlong sprint to sharpen him up for this. He had no pace early. He was trying to come from last. The distance was too short. He galloped out very well. And here's a good formulator fact for Rye. Past 5 years, Maury, with horses 4-year-olds and up, moving from synthetic to turf, second off the layoff, 27% winners, a $2 ROI. Let's not take the last 2 races at face value. 3 prior are good enough to put him right in the picture.
I have to be honest with you. I'm kind of looking at all of the last 4 with a little bit of a grain of salt, because as well as he ran in that San Juan Capistrano and his fire, look, the San Luis Rey was a tough spot given the distance and off the layoff. I don't think he really is a 1 3/4 type. I think he just flattened out for a reason in that San Juan. Then you go to the Crystal Water, something went wrong. He comes back here off of a long layoff, going 6 furlongs on the synth. That's nothing more than a means to an end. To me, his last representative race is this race in 2018. I think he's probably ready to go. I agree with you. I think he's got a big chance.
There's a way to look at accountability and say he's a bit dirtied up. 3 starts back. I had him trying to come up the inside. There was really never any clear sailing for him, and he got beat by Marquis Water. They tried 11 furlongs, which is too far for him 2 starts back. And last time, he was in and among horses in the stretch in traffic, and he only got beat 1.25 lengths. You could look at him that way. I'm not. I'm looking at him as a horse that doesn't win very often. He's capable of a good trip. I'd use him underneath.
Yeah, I was going to say 6 times third from 22 lifetime starts. He's a bit of a nibbler. To me, that's kind of the ceiling, a career best fig of 92, but he usually lives in the high 80, low 90 range. I like him underneath.
Unusually Green might be a really nice claim for trainer Jonathan Wong, who took him for $32,000. This horse won a 62.5 optional last time out over the turf course. I thought he got a solid pace that day. He was very, very late to change leads. And this is a horse that's done his best running in Northern California. And I guess you could say the buildings get taller when you head down south.
Yeah, and you know what? This is a fine enough spot. I think you take a chance in here for this restricted stakes race. If it doesn't work, you find another spot for him up north. But I agree with you. He is one of those cool horses that, you know what, he's not going to make $1 million, but look, he ain't that far off from $500,000. I think he's kind of neat.
The Street Fighter might be part of the pace. He was part of it last time out, although they were not going fast at all in that October 20th event. He ran okay. I didn't think much of that field. It's a big step up in class, and he must deal with a 4-month layoff.
Yeah, the difficult thing for me with the Street Fighter, I think talent is there. I think he's always hinted at that. The problem is you look at all those little layoff lines, it just seems like he's been very, very difficult for him to string races together. And to me, that makes it difficult to have you just expect to fire off the layoff every time. I think he's in too tough.
Back to turf for the 8 Tough It Out, claimed by Ronus Racing and John Sadler 2 starts back. They ran him on the dirt last time out. That is not his game. He was in against a very sharp horse in Acker 2 starts back at Del Mar. It just seems like stakes competition at this point in his career might just be a little bit too tough. He seems like an optional claiming type.
Yeah, and I also can't help but look at it, and I recognize maybe he was in some difficult spots over the fall. I just think his form is a little bit spotty at this point. Maybe his best race gives him a chance to hit the board. I don't love his chances, though.
Incredible Luck seems like a bit of an outsider in this race. He's going to have to improve by leaps and bounds off his most recent effort, a race in which he was beaten in a condition claimer.
Yeah, I was going to say, just based on the recent form, the recent figures, he's just kind of hard to like.
Let's take a look at our top pick for the Unusual Heat Turf Classic, and we both went with the number 5, Marquis Water. Like Ashley Loves Sugar, Marquis Water was in that Hollywood Turf Cup, and he was one of the horses that really wanted to push the pace. I think he was just too aggressively handled by Mario, and he was hung out and all in entering the turn. All in all, he was only beaten 1 3/4 lengths. I think it was a good effort, and I like him cutting back.
I agree with you. I thought that run 2 back in that N2X was really strong, visually very impressive. Like you said, he was part of that pace that things really heated up going into the far turn. To me, this might actually be what he's wanted all along. I've liked this horse going back to the fall of 2017. I liked him in the Del Mar Derby. He just came up empty when the real running started, and then it took him a little while to get back on track. But I think he still has the ability. Again, keep in mind, Southern California, you don't have any real world beaters out there. There's nothing saying that any of these horses, if they put together a couple races, they could easily be players in these graded stakes races. One thing at a time, get the job done on Saturday. I like him in here.
Give me numbers.
In this spot, I'm going to go 5, 9, 7, 3.
I'm going 5, 7, 9, 10 in the $200,000 Unusual Heat Turf Classic Stakes. The feature race, a very nice card at Santa Anita on Saturday. Bet it with a DRF Bets account. You won't be sorry. Deposit 50, bet with 200. Bets.drf.com is where you need to go for all the details. An approximate post time is 4:50 Pacific. Best of luck.